Joining me right now is UFC lightweight prospect Joe Solecki. Joe, it's been a while, man. How you doing?
Yeah, so we were just saying, I'm doing good. It's been 8 months almost since, well, right now probably 7 months since the last fight, or just under. By the time we fight again, it'll be 8 months. So good. Just been training and just waiting, and now it's here. So
Yeah.
all that waiting, and then you're like, oh wow, it's about to be here soon. So yeah, ready to go, excited, and have a great opportunity in front of me.
All right, before we get into that, I wanted to talk about 2020. You fought one time that year. It was a wild year, a lot of twists and turns for many people, most likely for yourself too. The first thing is I wanted to get to is the COVID. The COVID, did you contract COVID ahead of the Hubbard fight, right?
Yeah, so I got it in June, right before the first time we were supposed to fight. And it wasn't. I was pretty fortunate. It really wasn't bad. It kind of felt like really rough overtraining, where I was just like, oh, like this is the point in camp where I usually dip anyway because I'm training hard. But it was a little worse. Like I was like a little dizzy during sparring and stuff like that. So I went and got tested just to do my due diligence and not fly to. I think this is before they were sending the test before you flew out there, and I was like, oh, maybe I can have an excuse for why I feel so crappy in training. And then I couldn't believe it came back positive. So, I had to stay home from that. And ever since, we've been good to go. A couple of us got it, and we were still able to train that week. And then kind of took the next fight offered, which was also Hubbard. And then we've been good ever since.
Yeah, it didn't affect you any in that fight. And I was just wondering about the symptoms because nowadays you see certain fighters that contract it and it just continues. Like recently Jamal Hill contracted COVID and he's coughing up blood. What were your symptoms?
Yeah, for me, I just had really bad back pain. But what I realized is like pretty much anytime I get sick, or sometimes like the week after a weight cut, um, like if I eat like bad food or anything, like my back will ache really bad. I think it's just because that's where I kind of carry most of my like I guess not tension, but like not injuries even, just like where I have like the most pain anyway daily. So I read something about when I get like a virus, sometimes it'll spread to like areas where you're already inflamed. So I just have bad back pain, but if I get the flu, I get that too. And then other than that, just a little more tired than normal. Like my heart rate spiked a little bit. And then the first week back to like hard training after that, I was sparring and I just couldn't get that big deep breath. So like maybe in the second or third round of sparring, I'm like, oh, I just feel like I'm getting tired faster. And I was a little worried. I was like, oh, is this like one of those long-term effects? And then after a couple of days, it was like just being like normal sick, where a couple of days shake it off and you're good. But we were really, really lucky. A lot of guys have been. I think Hamzat, right, is still coughing up blood. And they're saying he may never fight again. So yeah, it worked out for us, luckily. But try to stay healthy all year and try to stay, always working out and always, just do the best that we can. And which is one of the best things to make this virus a little better if you get it. So we kind of lucked out with that. In our profession, we kind of got to stay in shape. So it
Yeah.
worked out.
Yeah, yeah. And your wife was pregnant at that time. Was there a lot of concern with that too?
She got it as well.
Oh,
And we just asked the doctor. So before freaking out, we always try to go to the people that should know the most. And they said the same thing from as far as they knew, just like any flu or anything when you're pregnant was, as long as you don't have a fever, the baby should be fine. And she never got a fever. I never had a fever. So we were good, So maybe, hopefully the baby would have some antibodies now, but I don't know how long they would last if she did, but she should have been born with them, which is pretty neat. But yeah, we were all good. Baby came out healthy, and she's fat and happy now, so we're good.
yeah, yeah. After the fight, you had the birth of your child. Congratulations on that. And how has it been the last seven? What has it been
Yeah,
6 months or so since the
she
since the
just turned
birth?
6 months this past week, so yeah, it's been awesome. It's been a great 6 months, and that was the good thing was we were doing some traveling for training still, just trying to stay ready, but. Most of my training was being at home, in Wilmington, so I didn't have to go too far, and I could really be there for the early stuff. Was there for the birth and all that, and it was fantastic. It's been fantastic. It's been amazing, and it's just crazy how I was talking about with my coach today. Is like I don't really do the whole motivation thing because motivation is very fleeting. I think like you can be motivated for one thing, and then the next day you're not so motivated when you're sore. But like my coach will always say, like weaponize discipline, like be so disciplined that it becomes like a weapon for you. And I feel like having her is like weaponized motivation that won't run out because it's not something like, oh, I feel good today, I don't feel good tomorrow. I don't like the guy I'm fighting, I'm riled up to fight him, I'm working hard. No, I'm just, how am I going to look at her and not be excited to go train and go work as hard as I can? So it's been fantastic. It's been definitely just even going into the last fight, it was a big mindset change for me. I was going to the UFC and trying to get there, and I had a bit of a chip on my shoulder not acting that way, but just feeling like I had to prove this person wrong, or this person told me I'd never do it, or everyone thought I was nuts pursuing this, but well, now I'm here. So how long can I run off that? Now it's different. Now it's about providing for my family, and I want to be the best, of course. I want to be top 5. I want to be a world champion one day. But now it's so that A, I can provide for my family, and B, I can be like, hey, look at what I did. Like I worked hard and I applied myself, and I got to wherever I get to. It's just a different mindset. It's very freeing in a sense. So it's been great.
Speaking of discipline, weaponizing discipline, you're very disciplined. You don't drink, you don't party. You're basically a fighter and a father and a husband, and that's it. Do you feel like that's an advantage for you? Because there's a lot of guys out there, I don't want to name names, but they're out there partying, out of camp, and they get fat, and then they get into camp. And, I feel like that can be a detriment to their career.
Yeah, I think so. I think everybody's different. Look at John Jones. He can go party for a whole weekend and then go win a world title. But for us regular people, I think that's, the two don't mix well. But that's just how I am. I'm boring anyway. Even if I wasn't a fighter, I think I'd be pretty boring and just staying at home and hanging out and lazy. And gosh, even this past weekend, I love watching fights. It's my favorite thing to do. I fell asleep by 9 o'clock, and then I woke up for the co-main and then fell asleep halfway through it again. I was like, man, am I getting old or boring? I don't know what it is. But yeah, it works out well for me because it's structure. And then, even the things I like to do to relax are nothing that's going to hinder fighting. So it works out well. I like being boring. I'm content in that. And it goes well with what we do.
Well, you're not boring in the cage. That's all that matters, right?
Yeah. I was I'm reading something before, and it said something about be boring and orderly in your daily life so you can be original and violent in your work. And I think that kind of is how fighting works. It's routine, it's a grind every single day, but then if you stick to it in the cage, you can do some pretty cool stuff. So hopefully I can keep that going. You
go from Matt Wyman to Austin Hubbard. Now you're going to face Jim Miller. You go from a veteran to a prospect to a lightweight legend, so to say. What are your thoughts on the trajectory of your UFC career so far?
I think it's been great. I think every single fight is the next biggest fight. That's the cliche, but it's true. And I think every single fight's been a great opportunity, whether it was on purpose or on accident. The first one was a veteran, but definitely somebody on his way out. So it was a good chance of let's see if you can wet your feet here and belong here, even off the Contender Series. And, I was able to pass that test, and it was close to where I'm from originally and where we live now. So it was kind of having that hometown crowd pressure, good test. And I think I passed, The next fight was a guy that's never been finished and a guy who was having some pretty crazy fights in there. And then that was where I was like, oh, I'm getting my dogfight test of can you hang in there with a guy who can't be put away and all that. It didn't work out that way, but we certainly trained for it. And the last minute, okay, now you're on the main card, stuff like that. So another great opportunity. And now this one, I don't know where we fall in the card. I really don't care, but it's that caliber of fights. And now I'm fighting a guy that'll probably be a Hall of Famer one day, or definitely a legend. Definitely a legend where I'm from too, New Jersey. So I think it's fantastic. I think it's a great chance for me to show what I can do and how long I've been training, and show what, the caliber of people that I train with every single day, which is very, very high, So I really couldn't ask for a better opportunity, and we're definitely ready to seize it.
Being a New Jersey native, you must have been watching Jim Miller coming up, right? He's been fighting for the UFC for so long. This is his 37th fight for the promotion. That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, we've known who the Miller brothers were for a long, long time. I almost caught one of his fights at CFFC. I think I missed it by one event, CFFC. I was at CFFC 1. I think he fought at 3 or 4 or something like that. So as early as that time, I could have been seeing him fight, So and I'm a Jim Miller fan. I won't be on the 10th because I have to be, the foe. But I'm, somebody I've tried to model some of my game afterward, and definitely a fan of the way he carries himself. He's just a fighter and then goes home and then comes back and fights again. I try to do the same thing. Most of the guys I like to be around are like that. So I like fighting somebody I respect. I think that's better. I don't need to get up there and be, putting our noses against each other and talking poorly to each other. It's just not how I operate. Jiu-jitsu was like that for me. I always grappled guys I looked up to and liked, and that's when I did my best. And I think this is the same thing. So it's kind of cool coming full circle where, if someone would have suggested 2 years ago that I wrote Sean Shelby a letter 2 years ago asking to fight Jim Miller, they're going to laugh and be like, who's this guy? Crazy regional fighter. And 2 years later, it's a very realistic opportunity, and no one's laughing, and it's pretty great. So I can't complain at all.
Was it a real letter like you wrote it?
If I did.
Oh,
yeah.
if you did. Yeah, okay.
I'm half crazy person. Yeah.
Okay. That would have been insane, right? If you did write a letter 2 years ago, I want to fight Jim Miller. This happening.
So this did that to Mick Maynard at
That's
one
right.
of the events I'm wondering at, but he's full crazy person. I'm just semi crazy.
Impa, he's not part of your camp this time around, right?
Yeah, we would always train together,
Mm-hmm.
but more like drills because he was
Mm-hmm.
a lot bigger. So and he had his own crew of the 85ers that are at Jimmo, which is just like stacked.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think he'll be back and forth some, but he's at Sanford MMA now.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll be on the same card. So the night I signed my contract, I logged online and then I saw his fight announced, and then came to the gym the next day, and our coach Jeff Jimmo was like, "Yeah, Scott's fighting too." So myself, Impa, and Holtzman will all be on the same card without even knowing we were all on the same card, which is kind of funny.
So Scott, he's probably part of the camp then, right? He's helping you out. He fought Jim Miller a couple fights back.
So he's been out, I think, mostly at the MMA lab this time around,
Okay.
which is where he did a lot of his camps in the past, or most of them. Definitely talked to him and went over, we have different styles, so our game plans will always be different regardless. Like, I'm not going to ever have a fight that looks like a Scott fight, and he's never going to have a fight that looks like my fight. But definitely helped me out a lot and told me some stuff about, having actually been in the cage with him. So it was very, very helpful. And then, and then he talked to, obviously, our coach as well, and told him some, maybe, two fighters might talk to each other different than a fighter to a coach. So, very, very helpful for sure. And we may end up crossing paths, or if not, I'll see him fight week.
Miller, he's still a dangerous guy, even though he's had so many fights. He's 37. A lot of people think, oh, he's out of the door right now, but I don't think so. I think he's very, very capable. What are your thoughts on his recent run, like his last couple fights?
Yeah, it's been very good. He's always dangerous in the first round. I mean, he's dangerous till the final bell, but that first round, he's a spark plug always. So if you dip your head down, he'll take your neck. He'll step on the left hand. I was sitting, in the first or second row when he fought Clay Guida, and they both hurt each other, and within a minute he had him submitted. So it's definitely, still Jim Miller. So I've got to respect him for 15 minutes, dial in for 15 minutes, and it's going to be one of those things where my attention span has to be on him the entire time. It can't be like, I'm winning, there's 3 minutes left, we'll coast. There's going to be no coasting. It's just not possible. We have to grind. So, but we know that, I'm treating him like it's the guy that went to war and almost kicked Dustin Poirier's leg off, because he still is that guy. Anybody can be as good once as they ever were. So we're training for that guy, and never going to factor in age, never going to factor in wear and tear, because you don't know when that shows up in a fighter's career. So I'm training for the guy that's going to look to take my back and choke me, or look to step in with a hard left hand or a head kick, or snatch my neck up with a guillotine, and among the other things he does. But definitely see some things from the recent fights where I think I do those things well, and can, that's my path to victory. And we have one for sure. I think we have multiple ways, but it all comes back to being disciplined, and that's kind of what I tend to do anyway. So it works out perfect.
With this matchup, do you think it will really gauge, where you are skill-wise in your career?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a good opportunity to show where I am, because I think this is the kind of fight. I think this is what the fight that I thought I had with Hubbard. This is probably that fight where it's going to be a grind. It's going to be 15 hard minutes, and the more time I can get in there, the more I can show, how I train and what I can do. I've never had a sparring session go less than 15 minutes, because even if you submit somebody, you're going to keep going. So this is going to be like that for me, is where I have to show a complete skill set for 15 minutes minimum, with breaks and everything else too, more. But I think this is the fight where I can really, really show what I can do, where I'm at. And there's always going to be, if and when I win, like I plan to, then maybe someone will say, oh, well, it was an older Jim Miller, or whatever they're going to say. And that's fine. I don't care about that. But I think for me, this is the guy where I'm not getting him out of there quick, but I know that. So anytime I can get in there for 15 minutes, I can show what I can do. I think it kind of got to with Wyman a little bit, and this is a continuation of that.
Yeah, Jim Miller has a way of turning all the fights into dog fights, you know what I mean? And I'm pretty sure you're prepared for that. And do you feel like you could have more fun with Jim Miller, with the transitions and the scrambles? Because he's a guy that doesn't just sit there. He's always moving. Yeah,
I think so. I always joke, like, I don't want to be a fight of the night type guy, but his dog fights are like on the ground a lot of times. It's crazy scrambles and grappling. And that's what I kind of said. I was like, at some point, this is going to turn into a grappling match. And I've been in quite a few of those before I even started fighting. So I think that's a really fun challenge. Obviously, anybody, I want to go in there and hit them once and have them fall and go home, back home to my family. But I think this is a guy where I've had some fights like that in the past on the regional scene, where somebody was really, really good at, getting their guard back, or, trying to sweep me, or throwing up submissions. And I had to keep fighting through positions, and you learn a lot from those fights. So I think I'm going to come out of this a way better fighter than I go in. So
how do you see this playing out? How do you see yourself taking out Jim Miller?
Yeah, you'll never get a different prediction from me, because I'm never playing for anything less than a 15-minute grind. And that really is the same. I said it last time too, and I thought it was going to be that, but I really think that's what this is. Is one of those. Just have to grind it for 15 minutes, and we're ready to do it. That's my prediction, and I truly believe if I do that, I'm going to get my hand raised. So we're ready to go do that.
Where does that stack up? A win against Jim Miller in your career, is that the biggest win?
Yeah, I think they're all big. I think at the time they're all the biggest. Like I was thinking about it some today. It was like at the time the Contender Series was the biggest thing I could have ever done because that was probably win here or be done fighting and have to go get a real job. And then the next one is the first fight in the UFC. And you're like, okay, well, if I can't win my first fight in the UFC, I'm not a real UFC fighter. And then after that, well, now I have a young prospect like myself. If I can't beat this guy, I can't hang. And this is, again, it's a continuation of that. So now it's like, okay, this guy's got experience, this, that, and the other thing, and a good opportunity and ranked above me. Well, now this is my chance to really show that I'm here to stay. So this is definitely the biggest opportunity, and I think it'll be the biggest win. No matter how I can get it done, it's going to be the biggest win.
All right, a couple other questions outside of your fight. Recently in the news, the knees to a grounded opponent has become a controversial topic. Do you believe that strike should be illegal?
I don't, not necessarily. I mean, they do it in one, right? Or at least they can kick to the down opponent and pride, right? But, I mean, if it's going to be illegal, it should definitely have ramifications. It should have been, I guess I thought a no contest maybe, but I mean, it just changes it. If it's allowed, it's going to change where you rest and stuff. I try to never play that game up down, but I've also never been in the fourth round of a title fight and been that tired, So, I mean, my vote would probably be no, just because I'm so used to doing it without it. But I don't think it matters unless it only matters when you have an agreed rule set, if that makes sense. To me, at least, I think, if we say we're going to grapple, but there's no heel hooks, I'm going to grapple differently with my feet probably dangling out more so than if we agree there's heel hooks, and it's no different with MMA. If you say no knees to a downed opponent, then he can rest in a front headlock. But I'd probably vote no just because it's one more threat to worry about.
All right. Now, in this sport, it's a young sport still, maybe 30 years old at the least. And if you had a magic wand, right, and you could change anything about the sport moving forward, what would it be?
I guess just that it started earlier, so we'd make a lot more money now. I'm very happy. Like I get to do this for a living. I get to provide my family. It's amazing. But if we were a lot older, like football, it would be stupid money, and that would be incredible. So I guess make it about 100 years older.
Definitely. Well, April 10th, man, you're back in the cage against Jim Miller. It's an exciting matchup. Do you know if it's in Vegas or Fight Island?
I have a flight scheduled to Vegas, so I certainly hope it stays there. But the only thing I thought was maybe it would go to like Texas if they found a way to do that. But as far as I know, I'm booked to go to Vegas on April 6th for fight week. So I assume it's the Apex, but it still says TBD on the contract. But definitely Las Vegas.
All right. Thank you, Joe, for the time, man. I really enjoy our chats, and good luck on the fight and all the best.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Take care.